America's kids have real brain rot issues. Cocomelon. Is this gonna be worse than Cocomelon? Cause like worse than what I've already seen by Optimus. Let's just see.
All right, what's going on, everybody?
Cocomelon is evil. I'm gonna be straight up honest. This stuff is so evil. It is properly catered to children to keep them on as long as possible, to push the watch time, to get the ad revenue. It is poison for your children's mind.
Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about what I deem, and I think more people should be deeming, a serious problem developing in the American youth. Realistically, this is probably a more globalized problem, but obviously I and most of the audience live here in the US. Most of the studies that I'm going to be talking about and like the...
Yeah, I don't think she's going to delete her channel. I think it's going to stay for her, I think. I can, here as a European, I can speak on the behalf of us Europeans. This shit ass. Children that I have worked with in school also have this problem. They don't watch Cocomelon, because maybe there's a German Cocomelon, but I don't know. But, they are interested in things like the fucking toilet. They are interested in things like Huggy Wuggy or what it's called, and like it's really bad. It's really bad, and like short form content. I do have to say that what I still think is pretty great when I look at the boys, the young boys nowadays. They are just as much into football as the young boys in my days when I was a little boy. I think that's still a great thing. I think that's still a great thing.
Things that I'm going to be referencing in this video are basically from America, so I think that we have a problem brewing that, you know, people, we like to joke about, you know, oh, brain rot, TikTok brain rot, you know, it's funny to make fun of stuff like that, but realistically, I think there is an actual problem, and it's one of brain rot, legitimate brain rot for children. So over the last few days, there's been this like rising discussion over on Twitter where people are basically discussing some recent videos that have gone viral online. For instance, one of these videos we'll be taking a look at here is a bunch of parents basically like setting their children, their toddlers, their babies up, where they play the Cocomelon intro theme or whatever, and it just like films the reaction of the children. Now, as you're going to be able to see by this video footage here, I've muted the audio because I don't know what the copyright issue could be possibly with using Cocomelon's music, but I mean...
You cannot tell me that this isn't normal behavior. Maybe that's just... Okay, this may be a bit harsh, this may be a bit old-fashioned. But I will never put a TV in front of my child. My child would have the ability to play with toys. And toys only. I am never ever doing that. And if there's just one show that I will genuinely show my child, and that's Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Because this show genuinely teaches your child to believe in yourself. That is the only TV show that I think I would ever show my child. That I actually think is worth showing. Addiction. It is addiction. These children are addicted. It's addiction. I'd show Naruto. I think I would show not like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You can show it like a, how do I put this? Even at a younger age. For Naruto, I think that they need to be like, I would say around like 10 or 11 to even more comprehend like the deeper things of Naruto, because Naruto can be very deep, unlike Dragon Ball. Not that Dragon Ball isn't deep. There's a PewDiePie Cocomelon intro prank back when Felix went to war with Cocomelon. That is wild.
When the kids basically hear Cocomelon or whatever on the TV, or they hear like the music on the phone, they just stop whatever they're doing. They like sit up like Russian fucking sleeper agents. They're like running into other rooms and like damn near falling into the walls. They'll be like sitting there just losing their mind, crying or whatever, and then the music plays and they're just calm all of a sudden. It's really weird, almost dystopian looking shit. And a lot more people are starting to realize, like, Jesus, this is getting to be an actual problem, you know? Now, as far as limited use of like video games and electronic devices and shows and whatnot, there are some positive effects on children. For instance, educational shows and programs can help your child, you know, have a better vocabulary. They can become better spoken at a younger age. Video games can improve.
I always question, like, video games. I would say that video games, if I ever just gave my child a video game, I would say, like, straight up Pokemon. That it's very simple to comprehend. It's not difficult. I would say at least 10 or 11. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. Like, any of the big three are fine, like Naruto, One Piece. Maybe not Bleach, because Bleach is not really that good. Other anime you could definitely show are like Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. You could show to your child. It's not really like brutal or violent. There's like some stuff. I don't think children should use electronics that are not the one in 1001 games, cartoons, and children anime until at least 13. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Like your hand coordination with your eyes, and you know, it helps develop your brain depending on what games you play and, like, you know, what kinds of stimulation basically you're putting yourself through. But the issue is I talked about this a little bit in one of yesterday's videos, but American society has gotten to a point where parents, they buy their child a tablet like right when they turn basically old enough to start goo-gooing and gag-gagging, right? And they just put their child in front of the tablet all goddamn day, or they sit their child in front of the smart TV and just play Cocomelon at their fucking brain for 14 hours a day, right? Now, there's been some studies that have been done on this stuff that are realizing there's some pretty grim outlooks to this shit. I mean, just the videos on TikTok alone of the children, like, fucking activating, like, Plankton put the chum bucket helmet over their heads, right? That's already creepy and weird enough, right? But we do know for sure now that there are actual negative impacts of this shit on children. And not only...
I mean, we do. They get worse at reading. They get worse at paying attention. They overall have a slower development when spending more time on a screen. I do think that this is not it's just not good. It's just not. It is harmful. Video games. I've seen kids having mental breakdowns after dying in COD, PUBG, and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't give my child stuff like that anyways. Shooters are taboo for a while, I would say. I think Fortnite would technically be fine because it's less violent, but still, I don't know yet.
Only that, but they're actually crafting it to be this way. Now, you know, children's media has always been important to families in the household. You know, like, for instance, when I was a kid, we watched cartoons on the Saturday mornings, right? We watched SpongeBob and Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, Boomerang, all these different channels. And there's all kinds of different cartoons and shows on those things, right? But now kids kind of grow up differently, you know? They don't sit there and watch cable TV. They don't watch this, like, pre-designated programming that's, like, authorized by basically the FCC and shit like that. They're watching, like, YouTube videos where basically anybody who knows anything about animation can make this kind of content for children. And as a result, now there's, like I said, these weird shows like Cocomelon where every single little detail is specifically designed to, like, entrance children. It's not even about educating them or, like, helping them learn and meet their basic development guidelines.
But I have to say that this is not only like a Cocomelon thing, the way Cocomelon handles things though. They switch like frames every 2 seconds, right? So like the scenery, the pictures, switch every 2 seconds. That has been established more and more in animation films as well. Like when we look at like Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, like all of these, they use the same tactics. They do use the same tactics.
This shit is about literally tweaking them out to the point where they give all of their attention to the show. They're angry when they're not watching the show. They can't regulate themselves when they're not watching the show, and it's literally frying their fucking brains. So this is a graph from a study that basically shows like a brain map of infants with screen time per day, right? And over on the left, you can see like the screen time from 1 hour or less a day over 4 hours a day. And you can see as the more they watch this shit, the more screen time that they get, the map on their brain literally fucking changes. Now, not only this, but also it's been researched and looked into. The more, you know, when kids are basically overusing screen time, right? They're watching shit for like over 4 hours a day. They're playing video games like over, 6 hours a day, right? Something crazy like that. It ends up actually harming them severely. So they did a study like viewing 10-minute episodes of Cocomelon alone, and they found that pretty much instantly after watching it, children's executive functions in their brain was literally
Yeah, I don't know. This is terrible. This is just terrible. I'm scared what like more and more I realize that do I really want to put children into this world? But then I also realize I am in control. If I don't let my children watch this, because I'm probably going to parent my children, nothing bad should happen. Nothing bad should happen. So I don't know. It is in a weird position nowadays. Well, they saw a market and started dominating it, at least on YouTube. Yep, that is how it is. That is true. That is very true.
instantaneously affected. Now, this impacts things all throughout their development, right? Like the way that they can handle their emotions or the way that they think, how their memory works. It's pretty serious shit, and this is instantaneously affected after watching this shit. Not only that,
Yeah, they're shown, like, when you take away the show from the kids get actually violent. Like, they lash out, they get angry, they get frustrated. That's how addictive it is.
but because these shows are like so bright and colorful, they're constantly fast moving, there's always stimulation, it ends up rewiring these kids' brains to where they're constantly flooded with fucking dopamine, right? And those reward receptors in their brain are just constantly firing because they're seeing colors and flashing shit and cool noises and whatnot, right? And it's leading to a point where kids are constantly being stimulated watching this shit like this. It's constantly fucking just cooking through their brain, and it's actually inhibiting the way that they develop in the younger parts of their life, which obviously the younger parts of your life.
You know how I see this? When I look at this, there's one key thing you have to realize. This is always based on instant gratification, which means that these children will struggle to do long-term tasks because there's no instant gratification. There is no instant dopamine hit. That also means that these children will be less successful because they do not because they have never known how to properly work for something to get that dopamine hit that they want. That is very grim to think about that, because they don't have the long-term motivation because it just takes too long.
Life are the most important points of development in your entire life. I mean, it's actually pretty scary how deep this shit actually can go. And it's also been shown that with kids who are constantly using way too much screen time, like way over the time that's recommended, they have impaired social skills, they have higher rates of depression and anxiety, they constantly have like behavioral problems, they have issues falling asleep and staying asleep. Now, I'm not saying that kids like shouldn't be allowed to watch TV or anything at all, right? But the issue is parents are not really guiding their children anymore. It's gotten to the point where parents in the household are no longer setting restrictions. They're not setting up rules. They're not,
You know what I believe this is also in drama too? Yeah, like drama. You know what I think like a major problem is? That school nowadays does most of the parenting. When I was working with primary school kids, there were a lot of parents who were at home in the evening, or moms or dads that were home in the evening, but they still put their kids into like a longer school, like extended school time, because they just didn't want to deal with them. The amount of time that children spend nowadays with their children is not even the hours anymore. It's like minutes. Because a lot of parents do it like this. They put their children into school, they stay longer in school because the parents have to work. Then they take their kids from out of school, send them into like some hobby, maybe football, learning an instrument, whatever it is. And then they take them home, put them into bed. That's it. Children no longer spend time with their parents, and I think that this is done deliberately, so parents are no longer in control of their children. That may seem like a bit of a more conspiracy theory thing, but I do think so. I do think so. It is terrible. It is odd.
Making their children actually earn screen time, anything like that. They just, oh, well, the baby's crying, fuck it, let me put on Cocomelon and sit the kid there in front of it for the next couple hours. And as a result, these children's brains are being fried in so many different ways. Now, I know I probably sound like some sort of just Looney Tune fucking conspiracy theorist here, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and link down below this video several different sources that I
And also, um, yeah, this is really just like putting on a TV show for the kids to watch and just like do your own thing. This is really just kind of wrong. It is wrong. Spend time with your child, play with your child. Um Playing is so important. Children learn learn a lot through playing. So it is important. I blame the parents. I blame both actually. I blame the parents for not doing their duty, which it is their duty. And I blame the people abusing children for their own gain. I blame both. Because you have to look at it like that, right? You have to look at it like that. Just because I walked through a dark alley with like my wallet out does not mean the other person is allowed to rob me. Just because I put myself into a bad situation, it's not justified to commit a crime. Here I apply the same thing. Just because parents don't properly look after the children does not mean I'm allowed to go morally bankrupt and exploit children. Very simple. Alright, greed. Yeah, it is greed. In its core, it's just greed.
use to talk about this. And not only that, but let's also go ahead and take a look. I know I'm talking a lot about Cocomelon in particular. That's because it's obviously the most popular, you know what I mean? There's literally a line of toys around the shit. There's TV shows, there's fucking music, all kinds of stuff, right? But this stuff is so bad for kids. Like, it's by far probably one of the worst things you can actually introduce to your kids. This shit is like grade A fentanyl for your child, genuinely. And people just have no idea how to regulate shit like this in their households because parents, they get tired of hearing the fucking baby cry or whatever. That's part of parenting, but people get tired of hearing it, so they just shove the fucking tablet in their kids' hands. And as a result, I mean, look at all the different shit that's going on, right? And I don't think that there's a coincidence that, like, you see on TikTok too all the time, like teachers talking about, man, these new age kids, it's bad. Like, they have no.
Because it is bad. It is bad. I talked to a lot of teachers, and every single teacher says it has become worse. The younger ones, just as the older ones, they say it has become worse. They aren't allowed to, but doing that is dumb. Yeah, obviously. You know what I also believe? How this came to be? A lot of the people that are now parents didn't have proper parents, didn't have proper parents themselves. They didn't have proper parents themselves. For example, a lot of for example, we can look at there's some statistics that go out there, that are out there. where they studied and found out that women that are single mothers, for example, that raise girls, those girls are more inclined to also be single mothers. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So I would say that a lot of like it's bad parenting from the millennial generation and probably also like the current like Zoomers that have children. If you can't listen to kids crying, don't have kids. Exactly. Exactly.
No social skills. They don't respect anybody. They don't, give a fuck about school. They don't care about learning anything. I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that from basically the day they could open their eyes out of the womb, they've had nothing but screens just playing dopamine simulator flowing through their fucking brain. Most parents, I feel like, aren't even reading to their children anymore. They're not reading them bedtime stories. They're not trying to help them learn anything before they go to school. And then now, all these kids, they're going to school and they're like, oh, fuck, I can't watch,
I think we did some real damage to like the social skills of children. The pandemic. The pandemic has done some serious damage to the behavior of children. That's interesting, maybe because they never saw their mom to be with a single man when growing up. Yeah. Yeah. It's also like when we look, for example, at boys that are raised by single moms, not single dads. Because funnily enough, when we look at single dads, the kids do well. They do almost equally as well as it would if they had both parents. When we look at boys, for example, boys are more inclined to, for example, be violent, do crime and stuff. We can look at inmates and realize that a lot of them grew up with single parents. Mostly single mothers, unfortunately. Why that is the case, I don't know. It probably has to do some with the male influence. I have no idea though.
YouTube for 17 hours a day. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing, but apparently a lot of people just don't give a shit or they don't realize like what the effects are yet. Now, it's scary to think, right? Because, people trust the people making children's media just inherently, I feel like, because, oh, well, they're making stuff for the kids, right? There's no way people would be so evil and so fucked up that they would literally craft basically digital Fent for my child. There's no way that that would happen. Oh boy, how wrong could you be? There's this story starting to spread around again now where basically like Cocomelon got caught working with a third-party company to basically like improve the quality.
I mean, why wouldn't people abuse that? Why wouldn't they? Let's look at it from a rational perspective. We have people out there that do all sorts of evil stuff. I mean, there are people out there who assault kids. I mean, if it makes a profit, nothing is evil enough for them to stop. If it makes a profit, nobody cares. At least they don't care.
Quote unquote of their content that they show to children, and the way that they improved the content, it wasn't about, oh, how can we teach kids new things? It was about how can we keep children looking at the screen for the longest period of time watching our content. One screen played a Moonbug show, and the other, called the Distractatron, played footage of everyday adult life. Every time the child looked away from the Moonbug screen toward the Distractatron, the researcher made a note. Time to tweak the episode. Did the company really design its shows so that kids would never look away? Hickey and Yeatman say the Distractatron was a work of a third-party research company, and neither of them had even heard the word before the article was published. They're literally sitting children down, right, while they're working.
Yeah, they're getting children, they sit them down, put two things on the screen. One is Cocomelon, and the other one is some documentary, some documentary. And they write down every single damn time when the child looks to the documentary instead, so they can perfect the maximize everything. They can maximize the profit. So they can do perfection to their product. It is disgusting.
Working on this shit, They're seeing, okay, when does the child look away from the Cocomelon? When do they look at it? How long is it happening? Why are they looking away? What's happening on the screen when they're looking away? They're literally running like a science experiment on our children. And then the ones that are like the fucking lab rats, you know, that they tweak all this shit for, they're like the patient zeros of what ends up getting put out. And then when it gets put out, everyone's children, you know, they're already fucking fine-tuned, right? Because they spent their time fucking working this shit to like a magical extent, making this shit as literally addictive to children as possible, right? And then by the time it's out, you know, parents, they're not thinking twice about it. Once again, oh, nobody would ever try to indoctrinate my child into becoming a fucking Cocomelon like bot. Absolutely they would, and they're literally doing it, man. I don't know, it's scary to think because obviously children are growing up.
It's literally speed for children. It is literally that.
In a more technologically induced world every day anyway, right? Because like when I was a kid, for instance, and this is the thing that's way different now, like kids now, they have their own electronic devices basically from birth. There's toddlers with like
Yeah, fuck no. Absolutely not. If I have a child, the earliest you will get a phone is like 12 or 13. I don't care if any kids start, bullying you for that, you know? Run a fade. I'm telling my child, run a fade. Beat their ass, I don't care. But no. Phone? I mean, if you do get a phone, I think it's gonna be like one of those, like, old Nokia style phones that are indestructible. I think actually that would make sense to give my child. I think actually that would simply only be for calls, and that's it. I think actually it makes more sense. Just give them a phone for emergencies and stuff, and that's it.
fucking iPads and stuff, right? There's kindergartners with their own computers. This just like, I don't know, at least in my household growing up, this was not a thing, right? Like I didn't have my own computer until I was almost a teenager. You know what I mean? I had a phone, but I didn't have a smartphone until I was in high school. I had a flip phone up until then, you know what I mean? Like, the level of, like, tech that kids are just instantly given access to now is just entirely different. And not only that, they're oftentimes being just given unfettered access to it, right? And as they're just being given, like, this constant access, no holds barred, do whatever they want, right? There's these companies making shit like Cocomelon and these other programs that are literally designed to just turn your child into a viewbot, you know what I mean? They're literally designed to, like, put your child's brain in the microwave, put that shit on high for 3.
You know what I would do? You know what I would do? If I ever, like, gave my child a console, like, appropriate for its age to play video games, I'm gonna, if I ever want my child to play video games, I would play with my child. Actually, I would play co-op games with my child. Why not? There's plenty of co-op games that I have that I could play with my child. I don't care. I'm gonna do that. Why not? I mean, that sounds like a cute idea. Just get your daughter to hop on some Mario Kart 64 or stuff, or like, I don't know. Just any, like, or some Mario games. Moderation is key. Exactly. Moderation is key.
3 minutes, cook that shit till it's dry and just stings. Your kid's brain is just fucking cooked, you know what I mean? It's a really scary and weird, like, dystopian thing that we're kind of watching play out. And the weirdest, scariest part yet is we have no idea what the long-term effects of shit like this is going to be. Because it's pretty much every child that's going through this now. It's not like, oh, only a couple kids that I know watch Cocomelon. Literally, I think everybody lets their kid watch Cocomelon damn near, you know, except for the parents that do know, like, hey, this shit's bad. The average person is letting their child watch this shit. So, once again, this wasn't something going on as much 20 years ago, you know? You had Nickelodeon and the weirdos and shit running that shit over there, but there was so many, like, basically gates and layers in between you and the content. The content wasn't mathematically designed in every single way to addict you. It's just a completely different world for kids.
I mean, it was not only that. It was not only like the get as much view time as possible, but also the meaning of the shows. I mean, we kind of look at older shows and realize that even as an adult, you were able to enjoy them in some capacity. Now, when I look at modern TV shows, like kids shows that run in like on Nickelodeon and like stuff, like even German shows, this stuff is unwatchable. You cannot watch this. Like I can sit through that. I can look sit through older TV shows, the kids shows, no problem. And there is here and there are some adult themes hidden. Now, like, how about we make TV shows? When Nickelodeon told me to go touch grass, exactly. Like, how about we start making TV shows or like kids shows where I know even an adult could find enjoyment in it. Because I think that's what's missing. Because kids get a lot of slop now. But kids also do deserve great stories. Kids deserve that. Pixar mainly. Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy that one of my favorite childhood movies, Wall-E, has not been touched again ever since its release. I love Wall-E. I think that movie is just straight up perfection. That nothing comes close to that. I love this movie.
And I almost feel terrible for him because, like, all of children's media and entertainment now is divided between two sections, right? You either get the brain rot slop that's literally just designed to turn your brain into like a puddle of fucking soup, or you basically get cartoons that have been gentrified by millennials who still haven't grown out of cartoons. Like, if you're not watching Cocomelon and you're not fucking consuming this shit, you basically pick now between all of the cartoon franchises that, once again, they're not even making cartoons for kids anymore. They're making cartoons for 27-year-old adults on Twitter and on fucking Reddit, you know? So for children, I don't even know what they do anymore. Like, what can you do for your child to make sure they're entertained? Like,
I don't like modern television anymore. For me, it's like I look at kids shows and I realize this is unwatchable, and I look at adult shows and like I realize that these are terribly written. They are riddled with constant like politics and like finger pointing on like the viewer and stuff. And you can't just like enjoy something without like uh uh some moral hammer just slapping you over the head. And like, I just want to watch a good story. I don't care about all this other stuff. I just want to watch a good story. I don't want any show with like any drama in the background. Remember Witcher, where like the writers actively hated the source material and like made Henry Cavill drop out because he wanted it to be low accurate. I hate this. I hate this. Especially when it comes to like franchises getting TV shows and movies. Because I want the same product, which in this case would be, I don't know, Warhammer. Any Warhammer product. As a movie. And I want it to be accurate to the game. Like, me personally, I'm not, I have no interest in Warhammer. I think the lore is pretty cool and the designs, but that's it. Um, I just, for example, went into the Sonic movie, Sonic 3. Great fun. I enjoyed it. Good movie. I don't care. No huge death. No. Like just straight up enjoy. I want fun. I want enjoyment. And people have started to realize that. That's why a lot of movies and shows do really bad that have this stuff. Personally, I still watch How to Train Your Dragon movies and series, not that slob one, every 2 years or so. I mean, yeah, the How to Train Your Dragon movies are good. I just think we don't need live action. That's one thing that's also a problem. Live action movies. I don't want them. I don't want them. Like, making a live action movie of an animated movie makes me feel like the animated version is an inferior product. And also the race swap thing for Astrid, which I pretty much very much dislike. I just like it. I want it to be accurate to the movies and not. Nothing against the actress personally, I just don't like it. I haven't watched How to Train Your Dragon. You should. You should. It is such a fun movie. It is such a fun movie. They're all fun movies, but the first one has a special place in my heart. I love it. Bad writing and politics have sadly invaded modern gaming as well. Yeah, but the people are fighting back. I mean, look at Ubisoft. That's why I'm on my phone. I prefer streamers. I mean, mature streamers like you, Poke. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love Warhammer. I like the lore stuff. I do like the lore stuff, like about the Chaos Gods and like that the. My favorite is still Nurgle. I don't know why. No one wants them. Exactly. No one wants them, and they still make them.
I don't know, man. I'm certain at this point, bro, for me, like, I'm gonna have to stack up on some, like, DVDs at a yard sale or something. You gotta get your kids growing up on some fucking, like, Tom and Jerry and SpongeBob, you know what I mean? Because if you have them, like, watching this shit 24/7, I mean, you're doing your kid way more than a disservice. And we really don't know the long-term effects. That really scares me to think that in 20, 40, 50 years, an entire generation of children who have just been fucking poisoned mentally from the moment that they were conscious, they're gonna be the ones running everything. But hopefully we figure this out as a society, because this shit is just scary, man. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch.
That's pretty much the end of the video. I fully agree.